The moment Isaiah Chance walked through those prison gates, 6 Block was already waiting on him. Day 1. First hours. Hands on him before he even learned what block he was assigned to. And here's what makes that hit different. This dude was not built for what came next. His own defense attorney stood in front of that jury and said, no cap, that Isaiah Chance was an aspiring rapper with no gang tattoos, no documented gang membership, no weapons traced back to him. The lawyer literally hired to save his life couldn't even sell the streets angle. They gave it up entirely and went with, he's just a lost kid who ended up in the wrong place with the wrong people. The jury didn't buy it. He's still guilty of first-degree murder, still looking at the death penalty. But the prison block didn't care about any of that. They knew who he was and what he'd done. And on day 1, they made sure he knew that too. To understand how we got here, you gotta go back to Jacksonville. For over a decade, Jacksonville has been running one of the most underreported gang wars in the entire South. On one side, 6 Block, also known as KTA, Kill Them All. That was Foolio's crew, his whole identity, his rap catalog, his social media presence. Charles Jones, known as Foolio, wasn't just affiliated. Detectives testified he was one of the highest-level leaders in 6 Block, operating at the same tier as Unin Ace sat at the top of ATK on the opposing side. ATK, AC's top killers. And their allies in a crew called 12,000 were the opposition. This wasn't new beef over a rap lyric. Detectives referenced killings going back to 2018. Multiple murders, multiple shootings, bodies on both sides. The war was real, and it had been running for years before Foolio ever had 1 million listeners on Spotify. Isaiah Chance, 23 at the time of trial, was described publicly as an ATK member. Phone records, social media, and a documented Twitter Spaces beef between him and Foolio himself, a recorded argument live on the internet, was preserved as evidence. The JSO gang unit was already watching. They knew these two had direct, documented tension. That recording existed. It was going to matter later. But here's what didn't match. No tattoos, no weapons linked to him, no official gang documentation. His own mother got on that witness stand during the penalty phase when her son's life was on the line and described him as quiet, reserved, helpful around the house. Said he didn't even speak until he was 4 or 5 years old. A father figure testified that Chance had talked about wanting to become a merchant marine, wanting to travel, wanting to build something with purpose. That's who was driving the scout car, because that was his role. He wasn't the shooter. He was the GPS, the eyes. He and his girlfriend Alicia Andrews were in a silver Chevrolet Cruze, moving through Tampa nightclubs at midnight, putting his phone to his face, pinging Gathite's vehicle so they knew exactly where Foolio was. The spotter. The digital scout for a murder he helped design, but didn't have the stomach to participate in directly. And it started with an Instagram flyer. Foolio turned 26 on June 21st, 2024. 2 days before that, he posted on X thanking God for another year. On June 14th, 9 days before his death, he put up flyers on Instagram promoting his birthday celebration in Tampa. He announced he had rented an Airbnb. He was broadcasting his coordinates to anyone paying attention. Prosecutors confirmed that the 4 defendants began planning specifically because of those posts. June 14th is when they saw the flyer. June 14th is when the plans started forming. They had 9 days to organize, arm up, and map the route. They drove down from Jacksonville the day before the murder. They were already in Tampa on June 22nd. Posted up and waited. The night of June 23rd, Foolio and his people moved through the city. Strip clubs, a spot called Teasers, living his best life on his birthday weekend. And the whole time, Chance and Andrews were right there in the shadows in that silver Cruze, tailing the convoy through Tampa. Surveillance footage caught them at 2 separate clubs at the exact same time Foolio's crew was there. State's attorney was clear during closing. They never approached a bouncer, never approached a door. They were not there to party. They were there to locate and report. Behind them, in a Chevrolet Impala, were the actual shooters. Sean Gathite, 20 years old. Davian Murphy, 29. Rashad Murphy, 32. 2 AR-style rifles and a Glock with an extended high-capacity magazine. The rifles had brass catchers on them, specifically designed to collect spent casings so they wouldn't leave forensic evidence. These weren't amateurs swinging in the blind. This was a calculated, premeditated execution. Foolio got kicked out of the Airbnb that night. Too many people. He tried to book a room at the Home 2 Suites near the University of South Florida on McKinley Drive. Chance got out of the car, made a call, and the Impala rolled up. The gunman, masked up, got out and opened fire. The assailant circled Foolio's vehicle twice before pulling the trigger. The car tried to flee. One of the defendants unloaded a rifle into it as it sped away. The vehicle was later found absolutely riddled. 31 shell casings recovered from the scene. Charles Jones was shot through the heart, the lungs, and the aorta. Pronounced dead at the scene, he was 26 years old, celebrating his birthday. Within days, the walls started closing. Chance was still wearing an ankle monitor from an unrelated offense, electronically tethered. When detectives showed up at the house on Captiva Bluff Road in Jacksonville, they had to surround the property and announce themselves for 15 to 20 minutes before Chance and Andrews finally walked out. He was holed up. He knew what was coming. Court documents revealed he told a JSO detective directly, once he gets off the monitor, he would flee the state and never wants to be seen again. A man who supposedly rolled with ATK, who helped coordinate the murder of one of Jacksonville's most prominent rappers, told police his next move was to ghost. Real recognize real. And that ain't it. The behavior throughout the legal process told the whole story. Gathite, one of the actual shooters, when left alone in the interrogation room after his arrest, surveillance footage showed him pacing and then climbing on top of the table, trying to escape through the ceiling tiles. Through the ceiling. Like a scene from a movie. They played that footage for the jury. The same Gathite who pulled a rifle trigger on a man's birthday was trying to crawl through ceiling tiles in a police station. Rashad Murphy, 32 and the oldest of the crew, thought it was appropriate to get on Instagram in the hours after the murder and post-celebration content. One post showed Tom Brady and Bill Belichick celebrating a Super Bowl victory. Another said, "Hate me kindly." Detectives interpreted those as celebration posts about Foolio's death. Murphy also denied ever being in Tampa when detectives first questioned him. Then, as they put cell data and surveillance footage in his face, he started changing his story. Surveillance cameras also caught him in the interview room mimicking a shooting motion, acting out the murder on camera in a police station. During the trial itself, one defendant couldn't hold it together in the courtroom, laughing during murder proceedings. Outbursts serious enough that officers had to escort him out in handcuffs. At a capital murder trial, where death is on the table, somebody thought it was funny. Post-verdict, after the jury came back May 8, 2026, guilty on all counts. Gathite broke down crying in court. A bailiff had to escort him out. That energy was not present when they were circling Foolio's car twice before lighting it up. Two things need to be said clearly about this whole case. First, social media will get you killed. No cap. Foolio announced his birthday trip, his Airbnb location, his movements on Instagram 9 days before they murdered him. Prosecutors confirmed the defendants began planning specifically because of that post. When the night got complicated and he had to move locations, that update reached the wrong people too. He was live posting his own ambush without knowing it. Second, proximity to the streets costs you whether you're fully in it or not. Isaiah Chance had no tattoos, no documented membership, no weapons in his name, but he was close enough, Twitter beefing with Foolio publicly, deep enough in the ATK network, that when the call came, he answered it. Answering that call cost him his freedom, possibly his life, and got him jumped on day one in a Florida prison. That's not a gangster story, that's a proximity story. The penalty phase started May 11, 2026. Florida law now requires at least 8 of 12 jurors to recommend death. Prosecutors laid out every aggravating factor: premeditated, coordinated, targeted, carried out with weapons specifically modified to reduce forensic evidence, executed on a man's birthday after 9 days of planning and stalking across 2 cities. Foolio's mother, Sandrias Mize, didn't wait for the penalty phase to react. The moment the jury came back guilty across the board, she posted everything she had. Justice for Foolio, guilty as charged. What they say, pop a bottle of Don Julio. Let's drink up. That woman waited 2 years for that verdict, and she got it. Charles Jones wanted to celebrate turning 26. He posted the flyers. He booked the Airbnb. He was living. His killers are going to spend the rest of their lives inside the consequences of 90 seconds of gunfire in a hotel parking lot. And 6 Block made sure they knew that before the first day was even over. Drop a comment. Do you think they deserve the death penalty or life? Subscribe if you want the next case broken down the same way. No filter, no sugarcoating. We don't play with the facts here.